Hello students, today we'll start with the chapter electricity and it is meant and covered for the class 8 students. Electricity is a branch which deals with the study of one charge to the another charge. No, you study of the interaction of one charge with the another charged particle and electricity, which is I have defined as the branch of. Today we'll start with the chapter electricity, and this chapter we are taking in the aspect of class 8 student. Electricity is the branch of physics in which we study the interaction of one charged particle with another charged particle. This branch is further divided into the two classes. One is the static electricity or electrostatics, and the other is current electricity. Now, what are the static and current electricity? Let's discuss. First of all, the static electricity. In static electricity, we study about the charge which is at rest and its effects. But when we talk about current electricity, here the charge knows how to move, and here we say that it is the study of charge which is in motion. And their effect. These are the two branches in which we can classify the branch of electricity. And to study electricity, we should know that what is electric charge. It is the basic concept on which we will be discussing and building the whole and construct the whole building. So, electric charge. To discuss electric charge, we should know about the structure of an atom. If we talk about an atom, in the core of an atom, we know there is nucleus. In this nucleus, we all know that there is nucleon. We say there are nucleons inside this nucleus. Among these nucleons, there can be two types of particles. One is proton and one is neutron. For different elements, this atom has different numbers of protons and neutrons. But if we talk about the region outside the nucleus, we know that there are the negatively charged particle electrons. They are revolving around the nucleus. There are many electrons are possible in these. So we say that on electrons and protons, they are opposite charges, but the magnitude of charge on an electron is equal to the charge on a proton. That's why when an atom is considered, there are equal number of electron and proton. That's why the total charge which is present inside an atom remains 0, because as much negative charge is present inside the atom, the same amount of charge which is positive in nature is also present in this atom. So the net charge becomes 0 and we say that the atom is electrically neutral. Possibly students may say that it is for the detail. But now we are coming to the important point. We define the charge as an intrinsic property. Intrinsic means which is due to the interior reasons, and this intrinsic property of fundamental particles, as we know that electron, proton are the most fundamental particles of the macro world, due to which any particle, or we are talking about the fundamental particle, so due to which it shows electric and magnetic effect. That property is known as charge. Now we know that the charge is of two types. One is the positive charge and one is the negative charge. Whenever you are asked about the polarity of any charge, you have to tell about the positive charge or negative charge. Now, when a body becomes positively charged and when a body becomes negatively charged, let's see. As we know that the protons and neutrons are inside the nucleus. Generally, they do not take participation in any kind of normal conditions or small rubbing of particles, small rubbing of bodies. But there are the electrons outside, and those electrons which are outside or far from the nucleus, by small friction provided or small heat or small energy provided, which is equivalent to the work functions, these electrons can leave the atom. When the electron leave the atom, the positive charge dominates, and that's why we say that the object or the body acquires a positive charge. So, positive charge is always associated with deficiency of electrons. Whenever a, whenever a body loses the electron, it becomes positively charged. Similarly, when a body takes an electron, then that body is said to be negatively charged because there is the excess of electrons now inside the atom, and that's why the atom shows the imbalance in the charge and it becomes the negatively charged, and now the body becomes negative charge because of excess of electrons. So whenever a body acquires more electrons, it becomes negatively charged. Now, if we have a glass rod and then we have a silk cloth and we rub this glass rod with the silk cloth, then we see that this glass rod let we have a silk cloth and a glass. Now we rub them with each other. What we see that the silk cloth as well as the glass, that the silk cloth as well as the glass rod both acquire a special property of attracting small bits of papers, small feathers, but when we take them towards each other, they attract each other. Similarly, we make one more set of glass rod and the silk cloth. We rub them with each other and we find that this glass rod and this silk cloth again attract each other. But if we say this the rod A, this the rod B, when we take them closer, what we see, what we see is a different phenomenon. They repel each other, means they go far away from each other, and these two silk cloths also repel each other. So what we see, we find that the properties on the glass rod and the silk cloth are opposite to each other because when glass rod is brought near to this other charged or rubbed glass rod, it repels it. But when it is taken towards the silk cloth, it attracts it. While the silk cloth again repels the silk cloth charge, that's why we find that the two types of charges has a different property. That is, if the charges are like, that is, the two glass rods when they brought together, then it will repel each other. But if the charges are unlike, they will attract each other. So here onwards, we'll discuss about the properties of charge. For the properties of charge, as we have discussed, the first property that the like charges repel while unlike charges attract each other. The second property can be as the charge emerges due to the imbalance of electrons, that's why it is said that charge is quantized. That is, charge is always found in the multiple of electronic charges. That is, every charge in nature exists as the integral multiple of electronic charge, where n is any integer, while E is a charge on electron and the value of E is equivalent to 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19, the SI unit of charge, which is known as Coulomb. Q is net charge on any macro body. Now we have the third property of charge, that is, it is scalar quantity. Also, we have one more property of charge, that is, it remains conserved if the system remains isolated. Now, we should discuss the unit of charge after the properties of charge. We know that the SI unit of charge is Coulomb, which is after the name of great scientist. Then we have the CGS unit of charge. It is state Coulomb. We should know that 1 Coulomb is equal to 3 into 10 to the power 9 state Coulomb. Now, as the fundamental unit of charge in this nature is electron, so the smallest charge is found on electron. So we can do a little exercise now. The exercise, it is a small, it's numerical, and it asks you with how many electrons are there on a body which has 1 Coulomb charge, negative polarity. So we should find the solution by the quantization of charge, and quantization of charge says us quantization of charge tells us that any macro charge is always the integral multiple of electron. So as we know that the charge of electron is equivalent to, in magnitude it is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb, but it has the negative polarity. So we should find n when we know that q is equal to 1 coulomb, as the macro charge is 1 coulomb. So n should be found, and n becomes 1 upon 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19, as there are the coulomb and the coulomb. So number has no units, and that's why we find that the units cancel each other. This value becomes equivalent to 6.25 into 10 to the power 18. So we should know that 1 coulomb is a big unit of charge, and it consists 6.25 into 10 to the power 18 electrons. One more thing we should discuss here, the flow of charge. The flow of charge takes place only when there is contact between the two separation of charges through a conducting medium. Here we have the body A, and here we have the body B. A and B have two matrix pairs, or we can say insulated one also, have two matrix pairs, and they are placed on the insulated strands. Now we observe that there is the positive charge axis on body A, while negative charge axis on body B. When they are connected with metallic wire like this, what we see that the negative electrons moves and reaches to the positive charge and it neutralizes the positive charge. So this process continues until the body A and B have the similar charges. So what we see that whenever the concentration of charges are different on two bodies and they are connected with a conducting path, the charge starts to flow. That's important that this flow continues until the charges on two bodies becomes same. Or in the real terminologies we should say that this process continues until the potential difference between the two bodies becomes zero.